I've put Kaspa and Litecoin side by side, data point by data point. Technology, for example, market structure, how strong the community is, but also the tokenomics, everything. And the result wasn't what I actually expected, because one of these two coins won so clearly in one category that there's hardly any discussion, and in another it loses so clearly that many investors have simply overlooked it. So if you're wondering today which proof of work coin deserves a place in your portfolio in 2026, then this is exactly the video you need. Hi, I'm Marius from 10x. Today we're doing the exciting duel, Kaspa versus Litecoin. Two proof of work coins, two completely different generations, but a completely direct comparison. Grab a coffee, relax, and leave a like for me. And then we'll get started. And over the weekend, by the way, I found an altcoin and a penny stock that are extremely exciting if you want that kind of info. About exciting altcoins, but also stocks, then join the free 10x Insiders, there's more there. Either scan the QR code or find everything below in the video description. But now into the duel. Litecoin is one of the oldest coins on the market, founded in 2011, over decades of experience. Kaspa, on the other hand, launched in 2021 with a protocol that actually didn't exist before. What wins? Fame and stability, or rather technological superiority? We'll look at this in 5 categories, and at the end, as always, there's a clear result. The market metrics. Let's start with the raw numbers. Litecoin. Market capitalization around 4.2 billion. This can change, of course, depending on the video and when it's released. Price at about $54. The circulating supply is approximately 77 million. Litecoin out of 84. That's 92%. FDV is practically at the level of the market cap, as hardly any dilution is possible anymore. With Kaspa, it looks a bit different. Market cap around 800 to 900 million. Price at $0.032 approximately. Depending on the day, it changes, of course. Circulating supply, about 95%, so very strong here too. FDV almost identical to the market cap. Also a positive signal. But what does that mean for you as an investor? Litecoin has a market cap almost 5 times higher here than Kaspa. That has to be said. This means that for the same percentage return, Litecoin naturally needs significantly more fresh capital. Kaspa has more upside potential there, due to the low starting base. But the risk is naturally also correspondingly higher. Category 1 still goes to Kaspa because of the lower market cap, higher asymmetric upside potential, and supply transparency. But market cap alone doesn't say anything about the quality of a project, of course. What really matters is what's happening beneath the surface, and that's where it actually gets interesting. Category 2, Tokenomics. Both coins have deflationary emission models. Litecoin halves its block rewards every 4 years, just like Bitcoin. The last halving was in August 2023. Kaspa reduces its emissions geometrically by about 1% every month. That's a bit smoother, of course, but it's a continuous deflation. Neither of them has staking or burning mechanisms. That's not a downside. Both are designed as stores of value and for payments, not for yield protocols. One relevant point about Kaspa, though. Around 95% of the total supply will be mined by mid-2026, so this year. This means dilution through new coins is practically impossible. What remains is ultimately a clear, predictable monetary policy on both sides. Category 2 is more of a draw. Both projects have clean and fair tokenomics here, without vesting risks or insider advantages. But now we come to a category that is actually the heart of this duel for me. Category 3, technology and use case. Litecoin was launched in 2011 as a Bitcoin fork. Extremely exciting. Fast block times 2.5 minutes instead of 10 minutes. And a different mining algorithm script that was massively relevant back in 2011. Today, with LitVM, there's one of the first EVM-compatible Layer 2s on Litecoin since Q1 26. Over 120 teams are currently building a new infrastructure. That's definitely a positive signal, but catching up on the deficit is also difficult, of course. Kaspa, on the other hand, was built from the ground up. Block DAG, Ghost DAG 10 blocks per second. And that's not an improvement on Bitcoin, but a completely different world. No other POW network today works even remotely. As many blocks per second, developer activity on GitHub is significantly higher for Kaspa than for Litecoin, measured by commits and active participation. Category 3 clearly goes to Kaspa because of its technological superiority and measurable structural narratives. By the way, you watch the market daily and still don't know when a coin becomes technologically relevant and when it's just hype. I know that feeling all too well, and I relied on public opinion for a long time, to be honest. But at some point I started to systematically analyze every single coin: technology, on-chain data, market structure, risk. Simply with my 20 key figures, and that ultimately changed everything. I share the full analyses in my 10x Elite, where I've already analyzed over 135 altcoins, and many new stocks have also been added. But there's much more to it. The link is in the video description, or you can just scan the QR code. You'll get all the info then. Now let's move on to category 4, community and adoption. And here the picture actually shifts. Litecoin is listed on over 700 exchanges, accepted by PayPal, available from thousands of merchant networks worldwide. Since this year, there's been a live traded spot ETF on Nasdaq. The ticker symbol is LTCC. 3 corporate treasuries have invested a total of $173 million in Litecoin. That's institutional adoption at a level that Kaspa hasn't reached yet today. But Kaspa has a growing and relatively younger community. The follower counts on X are significantly lower than for Litecoin. However, the ecosystem is also still under construction. By the way, for quick market assessments on both coins, follow us on X too. Category 4 clearly goes to Litecoin because of its brand awareness, exchange listings, and involvement in regulated financial products. They have a structural advantage there. Kaspa is only just building up. That's exactly the core of the question ultimately that we haven't answered yet. Is adoption without a technological edge enough, or is technology without adoption worthless? Category 5. Vision and narrative. Litecoin positions itself as digital silver, the established, liquid, secure POW chain alongside Bitcoin. The narrative is known to be stable, but also limited. There's no vision that goes beyond payment infrastructure. Kaspa has a stronger technological narrative, but it still needs to be backed up by adoption. The planned upgrade KIP9, which is supposed to bring native assets and smart contract functionality to Layer 1, was planned for this month but has been postponed. But if the upgrade is successful and developers follow, Kaspa could enter a completely new valuation category here. If not, it remains a technologically superior but ecosystem-isolated network. Category 5 is close. Litecoin is the more stable, more proven narrative. But Kaspa has a larger, yet also riskier upside narrative. Back to the question at the beginning. So, what surprised me now? Well, that Litecoin clearly loses in the technology category despite its 15-year history. But also that Kaspa lags so clearly behind in the adoption category despite its technological superiority. Kaspa has the higher upside, lower market cap, and a technological edge. And the upcoming upgrade is a catalyst. Asymmetric bet, so more on Kaspa of course, but also higher risk. Strong fundamentals, lower risk, more like Litecoin. Proven network, institutional involvement, spot ETF, and global liquidity. The crucial question for you as an investor is not which coin is better, but which one fits your strategy and risk profile better. Security and liquidity, more like Litecoin. Asymmetric upside. And are you ready to take on a higher risk? Ultimately, this is not financial advice. You have to make your own decisions. Both have their risks. The question now, of course, is what does the chart say? What is the current situation? And how would I personally proceed now? All that now in the chart analysis. Let's start directly with the chart analysis for Kaspa. We had a large red dot form here that was on the 13th of May on Wednesday. And that means that we ultimately have an overbought zone. In other words, because many people bought here, of course. FOMO kicked in again, and then you always have to be careful, overbought zone. And then we were sold off if you look at it roughly when it was formed. We were then sold off by almost 22%. And looking at the range down here, we were also in the overbought zone in effect. But now we are slowly entering the oversold zone again. Whenever people sell, we ultimately end up down here in the oversold zone. And then you always wonder, okay, when is the bottom finally here? And I'll put it this way, as I said, if you were to take the chart away completely, and that one too, that's what you'd actually see. And when the oversold zone or an overbought zone is extremely hard to judge in my view. But if you activate the 10x indicator, then you already have it down here. For example, with the range, I'd say you can get a much better picture. And it looks like we're slowly, as I said, entering the oversold zone here. Those who follow my channel regularly know I'm always waiting for the big green dot, because that's an indication that we might have a bottom forming here. And to be honest, I'm waiting for that with Kaspa too, meaning it could really be that we still have downside potential, as you can see here. And if a big green dot forms here, then that's definitely an exciting situation for me, which I will analyze more closely. So much for the Kaspa chart for now. Otherwise, it can be said that here too, for example, if you look at it, we went down, then we tested here, didn't get above it. Tested again here, didn't get above it. Here we didn't even make it up there. It's been retested, didn't break through. So you can clearly say that this here is a resistance zone. Exactly, and as I said, the situation now is I'd wait until a big green dot forms here, and then I'll have more information to go on. By the way, if you'd like to use the indicator yourself for your analyses, I'd recommend it because it gives you a good overview. All the info is here, you can just scan the QR code or find more info via the link in the video description below. And now let's move on to Litecoin. Yes, with Litecoin, the situation looks different. It's quite exciting because we had a similar situation. We had a big red dot form here, also in an overbought zone. Then we saw a sell-off. Let's take a look at how much was sold off. 15%. But now a small green dot has formed here. That was actually today, on May 30th. That means a possible bullish trend reversal. Whether that's sustainable? Well, let's put it this way. The signs suggest that there could be at least a small run back up, because we're slowly reaching an oversold zone down here, although in my view, there's still room to go lower. But it's a positive sign for now. Still, I'd also wait with Litecoin until we see a big green dot and then analyze further. So much for both chart analyses for now. Yes, now we've gone through everything. And now I'll show you both analyses here, which are extremely exciting for you because I go into price scenarios that are mathematically calculated up to 2030. So both analyses are right up here. Have fun, thanks for watching, and see you in a bit.